Hello, everybody. How are you today? As you can see, Stubb is up close and personal tonight. Happy Thirsty Thursday. It's time for Wine Antics Live. Stubb has chosen his blue shirt to complement his baby blues, and I have not mentioned it enough recently, so I feel like it's well highlighted today.
Nice. I
How's
don't even know what to say about that.
You're welcome. That's what you say
Aw,
about that.
aw, aw.
I'll let Stubb tell you where he is right now in his update with what's been going on. But I just want to take a moment and say thank you so much for coming by today on Facebook, on Periscope, on YouTube, wherever you are. I appreciate you spending your Thursday night with me. I'm Jen. I am the disaster that is behind Wine Antics, and as Stubb has already clarified, today is going to be heavy on the antics, probably less on the wine, because in fact, even though we're talking about fall wine and winery experiences, I'm drinking a darn beer. Because you know what? After a long day of harvest, which is synonymous with fall, and drinking a lot of wine, sometimes you just want a beer. And I think that's something that Stubb and I totally agree on. And that's why I'm doing it. And because it's hot. It's hot still. And we're ahead of the game here with talking about fall. So, Stubb, what have you been up to this week?
This week, I've been writing, I've been doing stuff. I'm back in lovely Roanoke, Virginia, doing some research for an article on some local wineries here. So I came down today, visited a couple wineries, and next day or two, I'm going to visit some more wineries.
Yeah.
It's going to be a big time, a big time.
A big time.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
so what? We probably won't know the wineries off the bat, but
No.
what wines have impressed you?
I went to two wineries today, and I don't want to give it away, but I did go to a winery that also does beer there, which, once again, as you said, you're drinking a beer. I'm drinking. It's not that winery, by the way, but I did go to that winery. Yeah. These wineries down here in kind of Southwest Virginia, Roanoke, or Central Southwest, I guess, because you've got another like 3 hours before you get out of Virginia when you're down this far south. This is a large state, larger state than most people realize. Not a lot of wineries south of here, but the ones right around Roanoke, Smith Mountain Lake, Lynchburg area are some amazing wineries. So I'm exploring some of those for my article next month in City Magazine.
Very nice, very
Yeah.
nice. I'm kind of jealous because I haven't gone out wine tasting recently. As many of you know, behind the scenes, I'm working with Wine Trail Adventures, and I'm building out a great program for people that like to go wine tasting. And I'm kind of saving up all my chips for when the app is ready for people to actually go out and do that. And then I plan to hit a ton of wineries, and that even segues into our discussion. Like, this fall is my favorite time to go out to wineries. It's my favorite time to do wine tasting. It's my favorite time to be at the vineyard, for a myriad of reasons.
Yep.
One of which is you get to do a ton of different things. When you plan a day, you can either go to 4 different wineries and you can hit every one of them very easily, or you can be more languid about it. You can go to 1 or 2, maybe one in the morning, one in the afternoon, have an amazing lunch, visit a petting zoo, go through a maze, like a corn maze, or go apple picking. So I love that wineries and vineyards are pretty naturally out in the middle of nowhere, where you have to make an adventure of it, a day of it. And then you can add all these fun fall activities on there.
Totally agree. And I like to steal the animals from the petting zoo and take them to the corn maze.
I heard about you and the goats
That's a fun time.
and the llama.
It's a fun time. Yeah. I actually have been in a winery where a goat rode a llama right in front of me. Right before my eyes.
And they live to tell the stories all over Reddit.
They did. It was their shtick. It was their whole thing. They were like a vaudeville act, or a Cirque du Soleil or something like that, or Cirque du Petting Zoo, whatever that would be.
Cirque du Petting Zoo.
They were great. They performed on command. It was amazing.
One of the other reasons I love fall, fall wines, fall wineries, the weather's getting cooler. You want to start exploring more red wines. And I think the most complexity, now, I may be shunned for saying this, but there's a ton of complexity in red wines, especially here in the United States. Now, as you get outside into the old world, you can find a ton of complexity in white wine. So I will give that caveat. But here in the United States, there's a lot of complexity behind red wines. And I really like getting into that and like enriching my wine tasting experience at local vineyards. So it gets a little cooler. You want to drink those red wines. You want to dress a little bit more like fall. You get to wear your layers. And being on the farm, you get to finally wear boots, right? So you're actually prepared
I
for wine
cannot wait
tasting.
until I can wear my leggings and boots and a long sweater over them.
Thank you.
I can't even wait. I can't even wait. Like,
He's got a whole closet of
a whole
LuLaRoe.
thing. I can't wait. Can't even wait. That is true. I do have a whole closet of that.
You don't even know what it is. You're
Yes. You think I don't know what that is? Oh, come on. I'm the best shopping partner for women ever. I know what that is. Come on. I'm in.
Cannot wait to see that parody video.
Oh, yeah. It's coming.
It's coming. All right. So, what do you like most? I mean, I've talked about a couple of the things that I love most about visiting wineries in fall. What do you love most about this time of the year and being out in the vineyards?
Yeah, we talk about the vineyards and the wineries. I love seeing the grapes if I'm there soon enough in the fall, and it may not even be actual fall. It may be summer, late summer, but the freshly picked areas of the vineyards where those leaves are turning red, there's no grapes on them. I love to see that. And then I love to see the row next to it that still has the grapes that haven't been picked yet.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know, that juxtaposition of, these have been picked and they're already on their way and these aren't ready yet. Something about that, like those two things right next to each other. It's almost like seeing like a grandparent with a new grandchild, like the old and the young at the same time. If that makes any sense, and that sounds really sappy, but
No.
I love going to the end of those rows where the grapes have already been harvested and the row next to it has not been harvested. I don't know. Something about that just shows me like change is coming. This thing is happening. Everything this vintner, vineyard manager or winemaker or whoever's involved in the decision has done it's happened and is happening. And I love seeing that. And love seeing those grapes. I don't love going later when everything starts dying after the harvest, but yeah, those two rows, if you can go to a vineyard and see the row that has been harvested next to a row that hasn't yet been harvested, I don't know, there's something magical about that to me.
And I'll even add on to that because I completely understand what you're saying. If you guys don't know out there, many grapes are harvested at different times of the year. They can be backed up right next to each other and grow with the same soil, but be vastly different. I'm sure Chris Kern is making comments in the back. Yeah, I see you, Chris Kern.
It's not. No, Tina's asking if I'm in a weird prison. No, I am in a hotel lobby because the Wi-Fi does not work well in the room. Oh. So I had to come down and actually just steal from one of the lobby business center computers their direct connection.
Just going right through the middle of the lobby.
So
big
if you see some
landline.
Weirdos in pajamas or swimsuits behind me, yeah, they have nothing to do with me.
Hashtag hotel life.
I promise you, I haven't been arrested yet. I'm not in hotel jail.
But on top of the, different, like having some grapes harvested and some grapes not harvested, yes. I love veraison. And I think that's probably happening right about now in a lot of different places. May have already happened, in California, for example. And veraison is that, I think that happened actually quite a while ago. But it reminds me of fall. It's like the start of fall. It's when red grapes, go from being underripe when they're green to taking on a yellowish hue. Yes. And then they go through this very magical transition of being very weird shades of yellow to mauve to bright purple. And that's their indication of getting ripe and ready for harvest. The same thing happens with the leaves, too. They go from being very green to being reds and purples, kind of like the background that I have going on here. I mean, fall happens in the vineyard too, and it creates that magical experience.
Yes. Yeah, I totally agree. It's just all the changes. Like fall brings these great changes that are amazing, right? Early on. I mean, winter's coming, as we all know, because we all have HBO or HBO. Winter's coming.
I tried that pun with fall is coming.
Yeah, we know it's coming, but fall, like there's still this great metamorphosis that is happening in the vineyard within ourselves. We're like, oh yeah, I don't have to wax as much or shave as much, and you know, I'm gonna stop working out and gain 12 pounds this fall into the winter. Like, there's this change, and it's welcome and it's awesome, and it's cuddly. You want to cuddle with everyone. You want to cuddle with whatever wine you have in your glass.
Right.
And fall is also, whether it be a year removed or 2 years removed, depending on the vineyard. Um, that's when a lot of new red wine releases come out. So that's an amazing
Sure.
time, right?
Yeah.
They're harvesting and they're like, oh yeah, we're releasing this wine from either last year or 2 years ago, or in some cases 3 years ago. So you're getting this new thing. Fall is like the new spring. I'm going to say it. Fall's the
Fall
new
is the
spring.
new spring.
Fall's the new spring.
It's
There we
fashion
go.
forward.
There we go. Fall's the new spring.
So what is, you kind of talked about and teased about wine, right? Like we're changing with the seasons. Everything is changing. What is your favorite wine to drink now that the weather, we're getting on to the point where the weather is starting to change, and even the dampness and the way everything's starting to feel. We got a little taste of it like last week where it was really reasonable and it just
Yeah.
made me excited.
Yeah. I think coming into fall, like I start thinking of cabs and Syrahs more. Not that I won't drink those during the spring or summer, but I start thinking of, cabs and Syrahs as something I'm just sitting around with, not necessarily having for a meal. Because, middle of July, I make a steak, I'm going to pull out a Syrah or a cab that I want. But just sitting around and maybe having a big, chewy wine, I'm getting to cabs and Syrahs, and I'm probably thinking about pulling out some of my nicer cigars,
Cigars. Welcome
lighting
back.
lighting up the fire pit and sitting around there with a big, chewy, bold red. And once again, immediately you think cabs or Shiraz. I think red Rhone blends as well.
Huh.
And once again, I'll drink those in the summer with a pairing, but I'm not just saying, oh yeah, in the middle of July when it's 112, let me open a Rhone blend just to sit around and sip outside when it's 105 and the humidity is 90%. Like, I'm not doing that usually. I want some lighter reds or rosés or whatever, and we've talked a lot about those. But yeah, I'm getting into the bigger reds, and I'm getting into cigars, and I'm getting around to more than fun actually thinking about the wines. And I know that's a weird thing. Like, you get in this contemplative time, right? You get to the winter, the autumn of your life, and you start thinking about things.
Oh, now it's
In the
getting sad.
same in the same no, in the same way you get to autumn though, and you start thinking about things, and you have more time. It's darker earlier. You have more reason to do things. Just deliberately do nothing
More opportunities for wine.
because there's no light. Yeah. So I think some of the bigger reds, pulling out big bold cigars, and really it makes me want to focus and sit outside and enjoy that around a fire.
So I don't know if you saw it earlier in this week. I put out a couple posts, or at least one post, talking about your favorite fall time beverages, and I kind of left it open ended for people to say whatever they felt like. And I know you saw the post. I know Rhett Moffat from Once Upon a Wine? It's
Once
so
bitten,
close.
twice wine.
What's that?
Once bitten, twice wine.
Let's go with that. That sounds good. But Rhett Moffat said your favorite drink. Do you remember what that is?
He wanted to have a Sazerac with me, as I recall.
Yes.
And he should want me to mix him a Sazerac.
You better be ready, Rhett.
Yeah,
That's all I'm going to say.
I will say that in a fall, I probably will put a little more sugar and pour that a little heavier on the rye when I make it in the fall, to be honest with you.
That's right.
I haven't missed rye because I still make rye drinks, but yeah, this is shaken over ice. It's, but I'll probably add, a couple of, maybe a quarter ounce, half ounce more rye and just a touch more sugar in the fall to make it last a little longer and give it a little more zip for me. And yeah, if I'm feeling real crazy, I'll throw a little more absinthe then, but you don't want to mix it too differently for the fall. But man, that's an easy drink to sit around with. And it's a great summer drink, obviously created in New Orleans, but where it's always hot and humid, but it's a great winter drink as well. I mean, that rye whiskey, you get that little bite, you get that little sweetness, you get the little zip from the absinthe. Oh, those are great drinks. Those are great drinks. And they're great drinks with cigars, which I do tend to enjoy more in the cooler months. I don't want to sit outside for an hour most of the time smoking a cigar in the middle of summer. I am more prone to have cigars in the fall and winter, actually, which is odd.
Oh, yeah.
But But it's true. But yeah, Sazerac. I mean, that's a year-round beverage, but it is one that I will get back to because I've been experimenting with a lot of gin drinks actually this summer.
Well,
Uh,
like light liquor, vodka and
yeah,
gin, scream summertime to me because
sure.
you see the cocktails, the way they're mixed, they're usually brighter in color, they're mixed with more fruit juice that screams summertime, but whiskey.
Summertime and rich women on diets. That's what clear liquors mean.
Okay.
Thanks,
Oh,
Jack. Thank you, Jack Donaghy.
okay.
Some people out there will get that reference. That is a 30 Rock reference to Jack Donaghy. Clear liquors are for rich women on diets.
Sarcasm and TV lines. That's what
Or
Stub
wait,
is good for.
or was that Ron Swanson who said that? I think it was Ron Swanson who said that. That sounds more right. Clear liquors are for rich women on diets. Nope, I'm going Ron Swanson. I'm correcting myself. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, internets, that I
All
lied
the
to you.
internets are going to now rebel on you.
Oh, it's terrible.
Goodness, Stub, what are you thinking?
I don't
But
know.
some other drinks that were mentioned were, the warmer, the things that are matured. So rums and whiskeys and ryes. I haven't had a whiskey probably in a good couple months, honestly, because whiskeys make you feel warm. They keep you warm, like going through, like you can feel it in your chest, kind of sitting on you, and that's that feeling that you want to have.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, I enjoy a cigar myself, and sitting outside
Ew.
enjoying a cigar means that you don't want to sit out and swelter because nobody wants to
Right.
sit out there. But it all kind of complements. So,
Indeed.
one thing that we haven't talked about is another liquor. This is a little bit about wine. Well, there's also a connection with maybe brandy and port for fall time, which is technically in the wine, maybe fortified a little bit. But I can't wait to welcome back brandy and port. And I know you've probably drank these drinks over the summertime, but I haven't. I've very closely stayed to light beer and white and rosé wine.
Yeah, I would tend more towards brandy than port
Mm-hmm.
personally, and that's just in general. But yeah, if I'm gonna have port, I'm gonna have that more in the winter.
Yeah.
Honestly. All right, I'm going through the comments here.
Good. Go through the comments.
One of those I'm skipping. All right, so Carla says the beer world, and I talked about this actually with several people, to include Carla, at the Beer Bloggers and Writers Conference, talking about fall before September 1st, and
We're
it's
not allowed
terrible.
to talk about fall before September
No,
1st?
no, no. Her question is, do wine people care as much about that? And my answer to that, personally, Carla, would be, wines are always there, so you can have them. Like, I'm probably not going to have, heaven forbid, a pumpkin beer in July, or probably mostly ever, personally. But you've always got that big red Rhone blend or cab there if you make a meal that's appropriate to it, even in July. So I think in the wine world, it's a little bit different. You get into the cocktails and the seasonal ingredients, and I think you get to a different, a different realm. You want to use the seasonal fruits, vegetables, tubers, whatever people are using for drinks now, which is everything, which
Everything.
includes you. I'll include myself in that
Toenail clippings.
kind of douche fest of let's see how fancy we can make our cocktails. But yeah, the beer world, that's an interesting question. I know we talk about more than just wine here, but the beer, like we've got fall beers on the shelf already.
Yeah. Well, this is where a lot of this came from. This
Yeah.
discussion came from because
Why
it's
is that?
harvest time right now, and
Right.
that's a huge indication of fall. I saw that Dunkin' Donuts commercial where the Pumpkin Man was coming out, so pumpkin spice is coming. It's coming
Oh,
everywhere. So if the world is talking about it, we need to be talking about it and helping you guys to get ready to think about, like, how do you want to spend your fall in terms of wine tasting, wine and winery visits. Like I said earlier, it's my favorite time of the year to be.
so I guess the good
wine
question here,
tasting.
though, is like in the wine world, you do get some new releases around that time because
Yep.
it's been about a year or 2 years, which, we're looking at 12 to 24 months in oak for a lot of your everyday drinking, larger, bigger reds with the tannins and oak influence. So that's fine, but I don't think it's specific. I don't think it's, we're doing this in the fall. I think it's like, this is how long these things usually go in oak, right? So we're going to bottle them. They're going to sit in there for, they're 24 months, and we're going to release them in November.
I just think inventory in, inventory out.
Yeah, I mean, some of it is that. But there's legitimate, hey, this wine sat for this long or whatever. It's not necessarily a fall release. It's just this is what's happening, as opposed to the beer world where you're getting the fall beers already, and you can't even get summer beers anymore. We're halfway through August.
I know.
And summer beers are not on the shelf anymore.
Ooh. So here's a good question. Is
All right.
rosé an all year round beverage?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it is.
Yes. Do you pull out special wines for fall more than you would for summer?
Probably not, actually.
Well, think of the time of the year, though. Like, we're getting on holidays, more people are visiting. I would argue you do.
It's not because it's fall or cold, though, necessarily. I mean, that will affect what I'm doing if I'm just picking a wine to drink. If I'm picking a wine to pair with something. Now, here's the other thing. Menus change. What we eat changes a little bit as well, right?
A lot of it.
Like in the summer, and I know it's hard to tell, like, I ate a lot of, like, grilled shrimp or grilled chicken or, salads and lighter fare during the summer because I don't feel like I need to eat as much.
Yeah.
So I get into the fall and I'm having stews and I'm having, probably more red meat, which I know for most of you who know me is like, wow, Stub could eat more red meat. Of course I can. But we're having heartier dishes and maybe getting into game meats and bigger, heartier, stick to your ribs type things. So I think that naturally, from a wine perspective, requires a wine with a bigger ass end on it, a bigger, bolder, mostly red, right? Oh yeah, I like a big ass end.
Bigger ass end. No, I just love your descriptors here.
On my wine. On my wine.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. What up, Sir Mix-a-Lot?
Shout out.
So yeah, I think the foods that we're eating at that point, when we're eating seasonally, require maybe a little bit bolder of a beverage.
Yeah.
And then we're talking mostly about wine here, but even with beers, right? Like beer changes or your cocktail preferences change as well.
Do your white wines change between summer and fall?
Yeah, absolutely they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I go from citrus to oak, and that's just raw. Like the raw transition describing it. Like I want light crisp, citrusy, high in acid. It's just what complements me in the summertime, and then in the fall I'm looking for fuller, rounder, not necessarily like heavy oaked, but I want a nice round mouthfeel. There you go.
Yeah, I'll give you that. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like a good round feel in my mouth.
You like a round feel in your
Maybe.
Stub and teenage boys. All the same here.
All right.
You're welcome. All right. So, Stub, we're getting close.
What's that, Jen? I'm agreeing with you. How about that? I agree with you.
I don't even know. I don't know how to deal with it. That's why I'm picking at you.
Apparently. I wasn't even being intentional with that.
So we have just a couple more minutes, and I wanted to give you any final thoughts about fall wines, wineries, favorites, winning lotto numbers.
I'm not giving winning lotto numbers because that thing is way too high, and I don't want to share it with any of you.
Okay.
I mean, I'll buy you all around if I win.
Okay.
Look, right here, I'm on record. If I win the lotto, I'm going to buy you all around.
Okay.
Hell, I'll buy you all a case of your wine of your choice. How about that? If I win, because this thing is large now, right? It's like over 400 million
bucks. It's
bucks
a little ridiculous.
Yeah. Right, cool. Shows how much I know. And probably I'll forget to buy a ticket anyway, because yeah. My final thoughts. I mean, we didn't mention the P word specifically. I don't think, did we?
The fall P word?
Early on we did, yeah.
Not the Trump P word, but the fall P word?
Yes.
We have to declare. We have to, create that line and make sure that we clarify. We did very briefly because that the P word came up in my my little post that I put out about what your favorite beverage is. Came up quite frequently there.
It did. And,
The P word is just your final thought.
The fall P word, use that for carving and making scary things to scare children.
And pies.
And pies. Oh,
pies.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Pies. Mm-hmm.
Yes, the P word and pies.
And soups.
I don't feel like this is getting better at this point. The further we go down this rabbit hole, the worse. Like the more everything we say can be like a "that's what she said" thing. Yeah, pumpkin doesn't need to go in everything. It just doesn't.
You weren't supposed to actually say the word.
I don't care. Sorry, I said it. There I am. I'm just me. If you don't like it, you can leave my room.
Okay.
No, look, use the P in moderation.
All right, that's it. Just you're done there. I'm gonna switch gears.
Now.
Totally gonna switch gears because I want to thank you very much, everybody who came by and dealt with the casual stub, because this was casual stub mode right now, leaning back in the hotel lobby. This was a fun discussion about, getting you thinking about fall, how your wines transition, wine tasting, some fun activities, and the way to approach fall in terms of your wine experience. Next week, we're complementing a show that we started back in June. It was Mommy's Time Out before school ends. So we had Jana from Merlot Mommy Merlot. I doesn't matter. My dyslexia kicks in and I say it wrong either way. Amazing woman, talked about what you needed to think about in the summertime. Like you need to take that little break for yourself. Well, we're doing another one next week where we have Jenna, who has gone quite viral, literally, with her photo on how excited she is with her with her bubbly, that her kids are back in school. So I'm very excited to talk to Jenna next week and to talk about Mommy's Time Out now that kids are back in school, because I think that's pretty secure across, or September 1st or September 3rd, that'll right after Labor Day, that'll be like the first week back for sure for everybody.
I'm going to pile on here and say that there are moms in my neighborhood who are very excited their children go back to school, and they haven't gone back yet, but they are very excited to come hang with me.
Once the kids are back in school?
Yeah, and I'm like, you realize I'm home, but I work. Like, I actually work from here. But they're like, yeah, but sometimes you don't. You're going to open wine for us now.
Yeah, we can just go ahead and do that.
So I have a lot to say about that.
Maybe you can have some moms in your garage.
Have a lot of empathy. Sympathy? Empathy?
Yeah, empathy. Yeah.
I empathize with those women.
Yeah, there you go. And a vocabulary lesson for next week as well.
At the worst, I hang out with those women and feed them wine all day. So
that's next week.
Yes.
Mommy's time
Very
off
exciting.
now that kids are back in school, or they're really close to back in school. Things that you should be doing from a mom, not from Stub and I. We're just encouraging the whole banter and conversation. I will post the after chat link as soon as I end the broadcast.
Please join us, friends.
Please join us, friends. It's going to get very interesting in the hotel motel Holiday Inn that Stub is in. All right. I'll see you in the after chat.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Cheers.